All right. You can see the wave from a distance, but that is, unmistakably Donald Trump. So I kind of guessed it right, that I thought I had seen that. So he's there now. What happens from here is anyone's guess tomorrow for the formal arraignment, whether you like the former president, dislike him, think this case goes too far or not far enough, depending on your point of view. It is an historic first in this country, a former president who is being indicted on criminal charges. In fact, we're told better than 30 such counts that they will go through item by item tomorrow. The political fallout of this, of course, is fast and swift. Not only do we understand that the Trump campaign has raised more than $7 million since word of this indictment first came down. Others say as much as $10 million. Hard to prove one way or the other. But it has, depending on the poll you want to pay attention to, even boosted on the surge that he was enjoying before this indictment came down, that his support is growing all the more among the so-called Republican base. Asa Hutchinson is among his potential challengers in that Republican race. The former governor of Arkansas formally announced this past weekend that he, too, is the candidate for president and joins us right now. Governor, good to have you.
Always good to be with you, Neil.
What do you think of what's going on, Governor, in this whole drama?
Well, it's a sad day that we have a former president that's being hauled into court. And the spectacle of it is being seen globally. It's not becoming our democracy and our traditions, and that bothers everyone. Now, you know, the indictment that's been brought, I'm a former federal prosecutor, and based upon the facts I know now, I wouldn't bring that case. Now, we're a little bit handicapped because we don't have a copy of the indictment. That's going to be unsealed later, and so we ought to wait to see what the facts are. But this is going to be a distraction for our country. It's going to not just be this week while he's arraigned, but it's going to be ongoing for the next 7 months through the Iowa caucus. And this is not healthy. This is not where we can focus on the fentanyl crisis or rising inflation and interest rates in the economy. We're going to be responding to media requests on this, and it's disappointing, but it's where we are, and we'll just have to deal with it. I want to talk about those issues. I'm excited about providing an alternative to the leadership of our party and our country, and I want to talk about those issues. I look forward to opportunities to address, with my experience and through my lens of being a national security person and Homeland Security, to being head of the DEA and in Congress and balancing a budget as a governor of Arkansas. These are important credentials that we need to talk about as we look for the coming months.
You did refer to this as a sideshow, and nevertheless, you weren't here to debate and didn't want to debate, as some of your other colleagues running for president or thinking of running for president said, that this is a travesty of justice. Albert Bragg is going way beyond his, judicial skis here. But you went one step further by saying Donald Trump should quit the race. Is it because of this, or is it because of all the legal distractions?
It's because of all of the legal distractions, but specifically this. And I know it's a hard case, and it's almost irrelevant because he's not going to quit, and he doesn't have any requirement to quit. So I expect him to continue. And ultimately, I think what we all want is for the voters to decide this issue and not to have it decided in a courtroom. But I said that about, he's under indictment. That is a reason for him to withdraw from it, because of how it undermines the strength of the presidency of the United States, I've always viewed that we ought to put the position that we're seeking in public service ahead of our personal desires. And this is a distraction. It is hurtful. And it's going to be ongoing here in this case, but also it looks like further investigations will continue. That's been something I've been consistent in. When someone gets indicted, that is the reason they should step aside from public service to deal with that. But that's putting the position of president over an individual.
Nevertheless, that view separates you from a lot of your colleagues, and many say it's going to alienate you with a very popular former president and his base, no matter what he does. They're hearing that, and they're saying, well, Asa Hutchinson is just desperate for attention, and the Donald Trump isn't going anywhere. And that crowd that loves the former president doesn't love you saying something like that.
Well, I think I've been fair, and the key thing is that you state your convictions and your beliefs and not hide from it. I think we've got two choices as a Republican Party now. You can provide Donald Trump with a coronation and say he's going to be our nominee, but if you're like me and say that we need to have different leadership for our country and we need to win again, then you get in there and fight. You get in there and represent what you believe and for the future of our country. And so that's what I'm doing. And I'm not trying. I hope that we can come together as a party, which is critically important. But you've got to speak what you believe, and that's what I've said. And I think we need a new direction.
Do you believe that the others who are almost to a man or woman, Governor, and really ripping the legal process here are doing it sincerely or risking looking like they're carrying Donald Trump's water?
Oh, I can't speak to their motivations, but I will say something that's important here. Donald Trump, of course, is entitled to the presumption of innocence. That is so important in our criminal justice system. But the grand jury found probable cause. We have to let this system work like it works for thousands of Americans every day. And we might disagree with the beginning, but the process has got to work. And we can't, while we are not having any confidence in Alvin Bragg, while we wonder about the motivation behind these charges, let's don't undermine our criminal justice system that really works well in the globe. It is admired. It is a hallmark of our democracy, and it keeps us separate from what happens in Mexico with briberies and what happens in China with no rule of law. And so let's work to support it. Let's not undermine it. And I really think that's important during this time.
Are you saying that because of these 30-plus counts to this indictment, there's something there that we might not know, that these others might regret, saying, condemning this, this indictment when they don't know the facts?
Well, I think it's always helpful to wait for the facts, and this indictment, I wish, would have been released early on so we could comment in a more knowledgeable fashion. But sure, we should wait for the facts. That's important. And then we don't have any choice but to wait for the system to work. He very well will be acquitted. He might have this adjudicated by a motion to dismiss. But regardless, the system's going to work. I was engaged during the impeachment trial of the President of the United States of America, and there was all concern about whether this is going to undermine our Constitution. In the end, the Constitution worked. Whether you're happy or not with the result, everybody had their day in court. The system worked. And I think that's what happens here. Now, the difficulty is we have a presidential election along the same time. And so it's going to be a distraction, and we need to think soberly about this process and how we conduct ourselves.
Real quickly, sir, and we'll take a break here, and I appreciate your time. You said that if you had your druthers, you'd tell Donald Trump to step down, to get out of the race, and that now is the best time to do it. He's likely not going to do that. He could end up still being your party's nominee. Would you support him if he were?
Well, I don't believe he should be the next president. I don't believe he should be the nominee of the party. Let's see what the RNC comes out with as to the requirements for participating in the debate. I think what's important is that
I'm sorry, sir, that's not what I asked. If all that notwithstanding, he is still the Republican nominee in 2024, would you support him?
I would not expect him to be the nominee. I can't answer that question. I want to see what they put down in the pledge that has to be signed. I obviously want to participate in the debate. I think there's ways that can handle. I don't want to have a third-party candidate out there. but I don't believe that Donald Trump is the right one to leave our country again.
Got it. Governor, very good talking to you. Thank you very much. Asa Hutchinson, the former Arkansas governor, the latest entrant in the presidential sweepstakes for Republicans. He's just the latest. He will likely not be the last. Stay with us.